What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Wait, What Are We Talking About podcast, episode 133. My name is Brett, aka Enigma 9011, and today I am joined once again by JC, aka at Music with Friends. JC, how's it going, man?
Doing great, man. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for hopping on again. It means a lot.
Of course.
If you guys want to catch this podcast live, you go over to twitch.tv/Enigma9011 every Sunday, usually, at 8 p.m. Eastern. You can join the chat over there if you're a subscriber. We'd love to have you in on the conversation. But if you can't catch it live, that is A-OK. Go over to YouTube and search Enigma9011, where it's broken out topic by topic and put as one big video and MP3 for your amusement on the following Friday. Last but not least, hashtag ad merch store. Get all of your swag over there. T-shirts, cups, backpacks, and more. Rep the brand, support us, and we would love you for it. So, JC's back on today for a very special episode. We are going to be talking a whole lot of Marvel today. Now, if you're watching or listening to this, this is your first chance to leave. Now you're like, Brett, what the fuck? You want me to leave? For a good reason. If you are not caught up on the Phase 4 material, excluding Doctor Strange, I guess, or including, whatever. If you're not caught up, this is your chance to leave without spoilers. We are going to be talking everything Phase 4 up till Doctor Strange. So if you're caught up in that realm, you're good. Stick around. Hey, let's chat. If you're not caught up and you don't want to be spoiled, see you, bye, come back and watch this, listen to this later. Okie dokie. So Phase 4, JC,
Phase 4.
How are you
Phase
enjoying...
4 minus Doctor Strange.
Minus
Okay.
Doctor Strange. How are you enjoying Phase 4 so far?
It's perfectly fine.
Okay.
How about you?
I've been enjoying bits and pieces of it. There's definitely the highs, and then there's like, that was okay. I haven't hit a point where I think it's hit a low or like this is bad per se. Like there's points I'm like, that wasn't my favorite thing, but it's not, I'm disgusted. So yeah, chat, this section encompasses WandaVision, Falcon Winter Soldier, Loki, Hawkeye, Moon Knight. Those are the Disney Plus programs. And then you have, I'm sorry? What If? Thank you. Wow, how did I forget that? What If? Those are I know. After I defended it, what the fuck? Those are your Disney Plus programs. Then for the movies, you have Black Widow, you have Eternals, you have Shang-Chi and the Ten Rings, Spiderman No Way Home. I think that's all of them. We're not counting Venom. We're not counting Morbius. I didn't even see that trash can on fire.
Don't even bring their names up. This was a pure podcast.
Shit! I'll edit.
How dare you?
And then obviously Doctor Strange, but yeah, later. Yeah, I think that's everything. If I forgot, then whoopsie. But
No, I
we'll hit it.
think that's it. I'm glad you just did that too, because I totally forgot about some of those.
Mm-hmm. Like I forgot about What If.
Oh. All right. So, what do you want to do first? You want to do it as a whole, or you want to do movies and shows?
Ooh, I kind of like your idea of movie and shows.
Okay.
Okay, so let's start with the shows. So we've had the 6 or whatever we just listed. Has there been a favorite so far out of those shows for you?
Moon Knight, hands down.
Oh, interesting.
No contest on my end whatsoever.
Okay, what made it your favorite?
For sure. I think in terms of like genuine acting performances between Ethan Hawke and Oscar Isaac, that's got to be, in my opinion, obviously, the best performances we've seen in the entire MCU, without question. I honestly like award-winning caliber. Like these guys could go to the Oscars for their performances on this Marvel streaming service, and they should sweep. It's just genuinely so good. And on top of that, the visuals. There's a lot of projects, or a lot of times I find with Marvel that it's more put a camera on a tripod, film whatever they want to film, and then they just call it like that. They don't really like dive into beautiful cinematography or like really meaningful shots. But I feel like Moon Knight just kind of took that, and it's beautiful. The way they played with mirrors, the way they played with framing, the way they did everything in that show. I just, from a filmmaking standpoint, that show is a high for me. In terms of like storyline, it falls into a lot of the pitfalls that a lot of these streaming shows do. It feels like they're kind of just stretched out, padded a little bit for time. I've noticed with Moon Knight specifically that it follows the exact same episode arcs as Loki. If you watch episode 1, 2, 3 of them at the same time, you realize the same exact thing happens to the characters. I think it's like episode 3, spoilers, the character dies and then goes to like a heavy CG realm, right? And then they have to deal with like CG characters, like, you know, a CG alligator or CG hippopotamus, or it's all very similar. But I just, Moon Knight with the acting and the way it looks was just, wow.
Interesting. Okay.
How are you?
That's a tough one because I want to lean towards Loki just because of the bigger implications, but I don't know if that was like the best. And then I feel like if I say WandaVision, that might be just because it was the first one kind of thing. But that one, I really enjoyed the conversations everybody was having of like, just the mind fuck that was going on of trying to figure it out. And I mean, Loki obviously is that too with towards the end and the you know, the time shit. Man. I think I would choose WandaVision overall as my favorite. Falcon Winter Soldier was fine. Hawkeye was fine. I do enjoy Kate Bishop's character a lot in Hawkeye, and I found her, you know, like relatable. Moon Knight, I totally agree. Visually, loved it. I don't know much personally about the character, and this definitely was like the door opening experience to me. Like, oh, okay, there's more behind just this cool suit that I've seen here and there in the games and stuff like that. And then what if, I think we talked about it in our last podcast, or maybe it was off stream, I had a lot of hopes for What If, and I was excited for it. And it was cool in a way, but sometimes felt very rushed, and I didn't like that. And I mean, I get it. They're trying to tell this story in this one episode, you know, arc, but I was like, I wish you could have fleshed that out a little bit more.
I think let's take this rushed conversation. We'll just put it in our pocket right here.
Okay.
Revisit that later.
Okay.
Because there's something to be said for sure. But no, I agree. So I think the biggest disappointment from the TV shows for me was Hawkeye.
Okay.
Because I love the character Hawkeye. I think he's great. I think actually Kate Bishop is a really cool character. And I do think she was portrayed very well in the show. I just thought the show was very weak.
Okay.
It felt a little corny at times. I think they totally just misused Yelena's character because she's spectacular as a character and she really could have done cool things. So I wasn't thrilled with that. I thought that was probably my biggest disappointment. I'm not saying it's the worst. What If couldn't have disappointed me because I went in with such low expectations. It couldn't have been any worse than that, you know? So What If is exactly what I expected it to be. I think it's funny because they're like, let's make these short little one-off stories and we could do anything, you know? We can use any characters. They could be in any situations. And they just like played it safe for every single episode. And a lot of it really kind of came across as fan service. And then in the very end, they connected all together anyway. So what was the point, you know? So it was perfectly fine.
Okay.
And then I do have to tell you, I agree, WandaVision was top notch. I think the format of it was incredible. You know, very seldom does Disney/Marvel kind of stray from their formula. You know, a lot of these movies kind of fit in the same cookie cutter kind of situation, and WandaVision was different, at least for the first couple episodes. As we started to get more into it, it started to feel familiar, but also really good performances, decent implications without being overburdened by the MCU as a whole. I think that one's probably my number 2 for sure of the shows.
Nice. Okay, so Hawkeye, what did you think about the reveal for the villain? Were you excited about that? Oh, okay.
No,
I'm just kidding.
I was, but I feel he was completely misused.
Okay.
I feel the representation was poorly done. We're talking about
Mr. Kingpin.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I forget I can spoil.
Yeah, we're all good. Everything is out there except for Doctor Strange.
Yes, but So yeah, I mean, he. So I do have to be full disclosure. I did not see Daredevil season 3, or Defenders.
Yeah, that was the mashup.
I didn't see a lot of those Netflix shows. I saw the first 2 seasons of Daredevil, and they were incredible. Don't get me wrong. And I think Vincent D'Onofrio as Kingpin was just like top tier casting. I mean, he nails that role.
Right.
And I thought he did so good from what I saw on the Netflix show. And then to have him be this like, he just showed up. He really wasn't that impressive. And then, he died off screen.
Right.
It feels like a waste. It feels like they took something really good and just kind of like, I don't know.
I guess. I think it's more of like kind of introducing these characters. Like the whole Netflix deal, excuse me, like it was connected, but it wasn't connected. We're going to acknowledge it, but not acknowledge it. And like the Netflix shows, I personally fell behind on. Like I started watching Daredevil season 1. I liked it, but for some reason at that time, when we're both in California, it felt like a chore. And it's weird to say because now like the program is the same amount of time, but I'm like, yeah, let's go. And I just like, I started the shows and then I didn't follow through. So now watching it, I've watched through season 1 and I agree. It's a totally different character because, well, Disney's a little bit different in their programming. But I think it's a way to reintroduce, along with obviously Spider-Man, which we'll talk about later, with Daredevil popping up. Like, you mentioned he dies off screen. Clearly he's fine, right, or else they would have showed it or something. Exactly. So I think it's more of that reintroduction factor. And yeah, this was just a glimpse. I don't think they'll go as full Kingpin as we've seen on the Netflix side of things. But we could find a balance,
I would love it. I think Disney could stand to be a little bit more graphic and violent with some of these stories for sure.
Yeah, especially with those cast of characters like a Punisher. Like you kind of have to do that. And now with Disney Plus, I mean, obviously they've acquired those shows for their streaming platform. They have the mature audience filter.
Yeah.
You could do it. Maybe you do it in this format, but maybe movies, because it's more general audience, you could taper it off or whatever.
Sure.
However, later conversations, I would say some of those things were pushing boundaries, but maybe I'm skipping ahead. Whatever. We'll get there.
We'll put that in the pocket.
Another pocket, yep.
Yeah. Pocket's getting a little full, but we're good. We can handle it.
Yeah.
Also worth noting, too, so I was really disappointed because I loved, just jumping back to Moon Knight real quick.
Yeah.
Hawk's villain was great, and then of course he dies off camera in the last episode. So yeah, they have a lot of beats that they like to hit, Disney, on these shows.
Yeah, I will say, toss away. Well, not toss away, but villains here, and then whoop, there they go. Villains here, whoop, there they go. Yeah,
exactly. And they do have that problem too, that this has plagued them forever, of weak villains. Like either weak motivation or just not enough screen time to care.
Right.
Like Loki obviously isn't a fair example because he had like 6 movies and a TV show now. So everyone's like, Loki's a great villain. Well, of course he is. He had so much time.
Right.
I think Netflix's Kingpin was great. I think Ethan Hawke and Moon Knight was great. I think Thanos was great, but obviously that's multiple movies too. So it's funny to me that you can have all these movies and still have like such weak characters, because just going to bring out that word rushed real quick again. Just sometimes these things feel very rushed. And I felt that a little bit with the shows too. It just kind of seems like they're really trying to do quantity over quality in some of these.
Okay.
Like they're really just trying to get content out without really taking the time that some of these projects deserve. I think the first half of like Falcon and the Winter Soldier was really genuinely good. And then I feel like everything just got, it's funny because there was parts of that show that moved too slow in my opinion. And then the end was just like, like what? Well, you tell me you couldn't have paced that just a little bit better. And these shows too, Loki was really bad in my opinion at creating these like false cliffhangers between episodes, like things that really were not cliffhangers, but they clearly wanted you to feel like they were cliffhangers. So that was the thing that bugs me too. So it's like this, the pacing is something that I feel like these shows definitely lack and they need to work on. But
All right. So let's flip over to the movie side of things. So we have had the 4 films that we talked about before: Widow, Eternals, Shang-Chi, and then Spider-Man. Do you have a favorite of those 4?
Of those 4,
Mm-hmm.
Black Widow.
Black Widow. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Why is that?
So Black Widow, I felt her character had ran its course.
Mm-hmm.
She absolutely needed a solo movie, but it should have come 10 movies ago,
We
right?
talked about that too. Yep.
Yep. So it's interesting to me. She's finally getting a movie after she's dead.
Right.
So I went into that with very low expectations. I'm like, this is a cash grab. They're realizing that they kind of backed themselves into a corner because they didn't give themselves any powerful female leads to make movies off of. So they did it too late. I mean, they had plenty of characters and they just didn't give them the spotlight they deserved.
Mm-hmm.
So they're like, let's try to do a Black Widow film. And I was like, this is a cash grab. It's not really going to be that good. Went into it, loved it.
Mm-hmm.
I was so genuinely impressed with how decent that movie ended up being, that I think it really kind of shot up. So I'm like, hey, I did not expect anything from this film. I was genuinely entertained.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think it introduced some really cool characters. Had the same problem where the villain ended up being, pretty weak. But I
really wanted Taskmaster to be a thing.
I know.
And I was like, yay, they're in the movie. And then the end, I'm like, oh, bye.
Who knows? They made Mandarin it. I mean, they made like 6 movies later, like, that wasn't the real Taskmaster. No, but overall, I really like the way it was just a very entertaining movie.
Mm-hmm.
And it had really good characters. And it definitely fleshed out Black Widow more for me, even though I did not expect it to do so. I thought they did a very good job. And so I think that one for me is definitely my top.
Nice. All right.
What about you?
Oh, okay. So Spider-Man No Way Home was amazing. And I want to pick that so bad. I think I went to see it 3, maybe 4 times in the theaters just because it was just like, obviously, a big, giant nostalgia trip. And you mentioned this earlier. And this is kind of for the people watching live. And there's a YouTube video for Doctor Strange personally that I recorded. And I use this phrasing too. Phase 4 is fan service. If you watched things, you are getting rewarded in this phase, whether it's show to show or long term. And Spider-Man No Way Home was fan service galore. Daredevil, Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, Doc Ock, Green Goblin, all these villains coming back. That was fan service, the movie, and it was fun as hell and enjoyable as hell. And I want to put that as my favorite, but I'm not sure if the nostalgia factor is like what's pushing it that way. However, I think I'm going to be the smart, reasonable man and say Shang-Chi was my top because it blew it out of the water and I knew nothing about this character. Fight scenes were awesome. I learned a lot about this character and want to know what is next for him. Aquafina was hilarious. Like, that was really, like, I don't know. That one just, like, blew it out of the water crazy. And I loved it. Yeah, so I would put that as my favorite out of the 4.
Yeah, that's my number 2 easy. And I'm really, really glad you said what you said about Spider-Man, because that was going to be one of my spicy takes.
Ooh.
Don't get me wrong. I enjoyed the living hell out of Spider-Man. Mm-hmm. It was very entertaining.
Yeah.
In my opinion, it was not a good movie. What they did is they took something very bland and they took some shiny keys and just jangled the shiny keys in front of me as a viewer for 2.5 hours?
Right.
So the way I like to look at it is you take that movie, right? And then you take away all the fan service like you were saying. What does that leave us with? Very little. There is very little in that film.
I mean, in a way, heads up, video chat might end in a few minutes, but we'll re-loop.
Okay.
I don't know, because, I mean, it does expand on Peter's story and Tom Holland's story.
Yeah.
It definitely, obviously, yeah, like you said, the dangling of the keys, like, it has those elements that fit in here to make it work. I don't know. It's tough to say. Like, I think the story was strong, but I totally understand the points you're making with it as well.
The reason I find that film so fascinating too is because that's the pure definition of a COVID film.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know if you noticed, but their crowd scenes never had more than like 10 people. You could tell they digitally added a lot of these characters into scenes together. For the most part, a lot of these actors didn't even work together. They didn't even shoot new footage for Sandman or was it Lizard? Is his name Lizard? Yeah. It's all recycled footage from old films.
Yeah, I did notice that.
So I find it very interesting that way. I totally respect that they had some very serious limitations they had to work with. Completely understandable. But it's just, for me, it was another situation where it felt like they just put a camera on a tripod and filmed things. It didn't really look dynamic. It felt very bland. I think you were I completely agree that moving along Tom Holland's character was great. And I think the ending was a huge emotional impact. But other than that, it was fan service. It was a nostalgia trip. I think a lot of the writing itself was lazy. Like Ned, they needed to give Ned something to do. They're like, why don't we just suddenly make him a master of, the Doctor Strange tricks? And I'm like, that's kind of weak to me because that really shouldn't happen. I know they explained it like, oh, in my family lineage always said, yada, yada, yada. Uh-huh. Okay, dude, that's fine, I guess. And then, it just, leaving the theater, I was like, hell yeah, this movie's great. And then the adrenaline calmed down and like my annoying filmmaker mind kicked in. And I'm like, it wasn't really a lot there. There wasn't really a lot. Mm-hmm. I thoroughly enjoyed the Green Goblin. I think they did a good job with him. But like, let's be real. Tobey Maguire went back to his universe and died. The dude just got stabbed in the back with like 3 12-inch serrated blades. I mean, he's dead. He went back to his universe and he died. But also, like, all these bad guys were turned good,
right?
Just to get sent back to their universes where they probably were killed or arrested, or like, it's not a happy movie. It's pretty messed up. And also the end where Peter's like, the only way to fix this is to get Doctor Strange to erase everyone's memory of me. Just erase everyone's memory of Mysterio, and then like. We wouldn't have said that his name was Peter Parker and all this shit, But
yeah, in the beginning. At the point later, you couldn't really do that because you saw the astral projections of our future villains, hopefully, in the sky. But
yeah, just that movie. I did not love it the way everybody else loved it. Okay. I unfortunately couldn't not look at it with a critical eye. If I was just going strictly off of like viewing experience and adrenaline, then like hell yeah,
right.
But that one is not below Eternals. Don't get me wrong. But that one I think is actually, of these 4, I'm forgetting one. Eternals, Black Widow,
Shang-Chi, Spider-Man.
Okay, so yeah, Spider-Man would be number 3 then for sure. And then Eternals is just.
All right. Before we jump over to Eternals, what did you think of the crossover that we did not expect to happen of a Tom Hardy Venom?
Oh my God. I think we went out to dinner afterwards, and I could not help but just complain angrily about how freaking mad I was that they did that. I was hurt. I was upset. I was emotional.
Now, were you upset that he showed up, or were you upset that he got kicked out?
It's a very conflicting thing for me.
Okay.
Let's go into some detail here.
Sure.
I love Tom Hardy.
Okay.
He's actually one of my favorite actors. He is in so many good things. I hate Sony. I hate everything Sony makes. I hate everything they do to these Marvel properties. So I refuse to see their films.
Okay.
And when they grabbed Tom Hardy, I was like, no, that's my boy. And they took him from me. And then to put the Sony nonsense and meddle with this Sony nonsense and put it into my pure, pristine MCU was devastating to me. Okay. I hate that.
Okay.
I was very unhappy.
So how did you feel at the end of his adventure into the MCU?
It was pointless.
Was it?
Oh, no, I get you. Just the implication. What are the implications? I don't know, because I think they already said that they're planning on making 3 more Tom Holland Spider-Man, so
I think so, yeah.
I'm sure they're gonna do something with that.
We can have a Venom that's good. Not that the other Venom's not bad.
But
it's
what
okay.
if we don't have a Venom that's good?
Then it was pointless. Why show the goop still there?
I am going to be cautiously optimistic. I'm not going to get my hopes up. I'm going to just
give me my 90s cartoon Venom, damn it, please. I don't need this bromance Venom that is entertaining and I laugh at, but I don't need that.
I've heard things, and I hear there's like some homosexual undertones to Venom, and I think that's awesome. I think that's actually a really clever way to do that film.
Mm-hmm.
It's like kind of like a gay romance film between Venom and Tom Hardy's character, whose name I don't even know. I do think that's actually genuinely really cool. I think that's a cool idea. Still not gonna watch it. If Sony hadn't made it, I would probably have watched it. But all right, so here's a question for you: who's playing Marvel's Venom?
I don't know.
Anybody in the world.
I'm terrible with that, like, fan casting actors. Because, okay, like, the first one that came to my head isn't even somebody who I think is, like, evil or, like, is that. But I was like, oh, Keanu. Like, I just want Keanu involved somewhere. But I don't know. I haven't seen him in that, like, mean role from my experience. Maybe there is something out there that, you know. But, like, that was just the first person that came to my head just because I want him in the universe. Not that I think he would be good.
Have you heard, like, the Keanu Ghost Rider rumors?
I've heard that. I remember when he was rumored for Moon Knight before Oscar Isaac was confirmed. This man's being thrown left and right. And, I mean, I'm okay with it.
As long as we get him before Warner Brothers or Sony, I'm fine. But we just need to get him.
Warner Brothers already has him. He's a Matrix flipping around.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God. Don't even get me started on that.
Didn't watch it. I don't know if I want to.
Oh, my. If I could ever recommend you don't watch a movie, do not watch that movie.
Okay.
My God. But anyway, that's a whole other... Woo!
Yeah, next podcast.
Next podcast,
yes. Okay. Eternals appears to be at the bottom of your list. What were your thoughts on Eternals?
I feel bad putting it at the bottom of my list because it's something different, and I want to support Marvel and Disney doing different things in the MCU because it can get very bland. So I don't want to poop on it for being something different. I liked that it was different. It just wasn't good, in my opinion. Visual effects were fine. Dialogue was pretty weak. It was pretty slow in some areas. That horribly awkward G-rated sex scene in a Disney movie was just like one of the most bizarre choices I think I've ever witnessed. And then they killed off my boy Gilgamesh too soon. I loved him. Yeah. He was a great character. Yeah. But kudos to them for making me love him. I mean, that's good development right there. Oh, absolutely. So I had emotional stakes when he died. Other than that, I didn't give a shit about any of them.
Okay.
So, that was the problem I had with that movie.
Okay. Yeah, after watching it, like, I really enjoyed it because, once again, it was a property I have no idea who the hell anybody is, and Same. I enjoyed what they told, and I agree, totally connected with Gilgamesh. The others, like, there was some relationship. I couldn't even tell you any of their names, though. And it feels like a Guardians of the Galaxy where it's like a homework assignment. Yes. Like, especially at the end, like, wait, who are you popping in claiming this with the other thing? I've seen this little gnome dude, but that's also a video game. And I'm like, fucking, what? Yeah. I think I might need to rewatch that one because that one doesn't resonate as much, but it could have been worse. It could have been worse.
Oh, yeah, no, I agree with you. It definitely could have been worse. Yeah. Also, like, a big thing for me is you have that big grand finale fight where everyone showed up, and I'm going to butcher his name, so I apologize. Kumail? You know, I think it's Kumail is the actor's name, correct?
Correct, yep.
I believe it's how it's pronounced. Where was he?
Yeah, just like...
Where was he? So I assumed, because I always go to production issues, so I'm like, he probably wasn't there because maybe he was filming something else, or it was like scheduling conflict. And no matter how much I Googled this, there were no answers. So, like, what the hell? Where was he? Right. I thought his character was also very entertaining, you know, pretty standard comic relief, which everyone in that movie was trying to be comic relief, which is also a problem. But I was like, why is this? How are you just gonna remove a whole character from the finale fight where everyone's supposed to be there?
Right.
Um, yeah, I mean, I would definitely give it another watch. I think I didn't, like you said, I didn't know anything about the property. I didn't know anything about Kit Harington's character. I didn't know there were connections with the Blade. So the post-credit scene was like, who the hell was that?
Oh, okay.
And it's like, it's Blade. I'm like, oh, interesting. It's Blade.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to say it was bad. I didn't enjoy it. And of the four that we're discussing, that was definitely, I think you were spot on with Shang-Chi. I think it was beautifully shot. The acting was good. The action was good. Characters were good. That was genuinely like a really good movie.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right. So before we hop over to the elephant in the room, the future of Phase 4. We have, at least on the Disney Plus side of things, we have Miss Marvel starting, I believe, in June or July. And then after that is She-Hulk. And then movie-wise, movie-wise, July we have Thor. And then I'm forgetting what is after that, but I feel like it's November time period. But I'm blanking. So at least for those.
Is that Black Panther 2?
It might be. Maybe.
I think
Wakanda Forever. Yeah.
Because they're filming Guardians 3 right now. Ant-Man 3, I think, is wrapped.
I think they wrapped Guardians like recently.
Did they?
I think so, yeah.
The Guardians and Ant-Man are wrapped.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think it's got to be Black Panther comes out later this year.
Gotcha. So what are your hopes for those few properties that we've listed off?
So I'm blindly loyal to Ant-Man. I'm going to love that movie no matter how bad or cheesy it is. I love Ant-Man. I think what they did to the character was good because, you know, in the comics it was about Hank Pym, and Hank Pym was like an alcoholic wife beater. I think he like beat his wife to death one time. So clearly that doesn't translate well to a Disney movie.
Right.
So I do like that they went along with Scott Lang instead of Hank Pym because Scott Lang isn't an alcoholic woman beater. So generally a good move, I would say. I really like that. I think there's just something cool about Ant-Man. I think those properties are cool. So very excited for that. I'm cautiously optimistic for Thor.
Oh,
I liked Taika Waititi a lot when he was first getting started, but now that I feel he's gotten the recognition, which he did deserve, I feel like they're giving him just a little bit too much control with his projects, and they're kind of all going in a strange direction.
Okay.
So I will see. I'm cautiously optimistic. I think it will be good. I just don't want it to be too far in whatever direction it's going in. The trailers give away nothing. I don't even know the plot of the movie from the trailers.
Man.
And then other than that, I think I'm interested to see Black Panther, see how they handle the loss of Chadwick.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think the shows I'm all just meh for. We'll see how they go. I think She-Hulk could be interesting. It's going to be I assumed they were going to try to bring in what's his name's Red Hulk, but he just passed away, the actor William Hurt.
Right, yeah.
R.I.P. obviously. So curious to know what's going on with that. Obviously, Tim Roth's Abomination is going to come back. We'll see Mark Ruffalo again. That might be the last time we see Mark Ruffalo in the MCU.
Oh, really?
Although they're talking about doing a World War Hulk film.
Oh, that's been rumored forever. I don't think they can do a solo Hulk film because Universal or some shit.
The reason they didn't want to is because Universal still has distribution rights. So they could make the film, but Universal would distribute the film, which they're like, I don't want to do that. But they did. I mean, at this point, they'll probably just end up buying Universal anyway, like they did to Sony. So, not Sony, Fox. So, who freaking knows?
We'll see.
What are your thoughts? What are you feeling?
I'm kind of excited for, was it The Marvels or Miss Marvel? But that might just be because of my experience with Kamala Khan in the Avengers game, which I know also is very controversial. People hated that game. Story-wise, like, her character kind of, I think, will be like a Kate Bishop, like fangirl. Like I'm rooting for her. I think that'll be interesting. I'm confused on how they're changing her powers. So, if my understanding is correct, she like inherits something from Captain Marvel. It's like the Kree radiation or something like that causes her to do like the Mr. Fantastic stretching and stuff like that. And in this, it almost looks like it's a bracelet that is giving her the abilities. And I'm like, why are we doing that? So that has me a little scared. But other than that, I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, She-Hulk's a weird one. I, once again, know not much about the Jen Walters character. I know she's Hulk's cousin, and she's a lawyer, but that's about it.
That show is going to be a procedural lawyer comedy.
Yeah, so...
Which, interesting, right? With some superheroes in there. Yep.
And then, I'm looking forward to Thor. I think... I mean, we got the reveal in the trailer. I just want to know what's up with Jane. And once again, this Phase 4 is fucking fan service galore. Like, we're putting this character in. But it seems like, at least for now, we're done with the Hocus Pocus multiverse, where I'll talk about it in our next topic. But they can do these fun things that can be one-offs. As far as I know, this isn't a multiverse thing, so I'm curious how that rolls around, because obviously Mjolnir is back also, which multiverse could explain that, but what I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it's still around. Who knows?
Yep.
So yeah, Phase 4.